Hello, Steve at 79. Well, I just watched the Orville Season 3, Episode 8, Midnight Blue. It was a good episode. It could have been great if Gordon wasn't in it, but besides that, it was pretty great. Okay, I heard Dolly Parton was going to be in it. I was supposed to go to sleep hours and hours ago, and then I found out about that. I'm like, I can't go to sleep. I need to watch this, so I'm really tired. But yeah, it was pretty good. Basically, the Mocklin are still maintaining a truce with the female Mocklins, and the Orville is basically checking on them to make sure everything's fine in the colony. They go down. Topa wants to go down because she wants to meet some of the female Mocklins. So Kelly helps persuade Bortus into taking her. She goes. She's immediately assaulted by the Mocklin crew that is down there. They pretty much just leave them to go and spend time with the women. She meets, what is her name? Havina. I want to call her Havina. And they go to her house, and basically Dolly Parton's playing, of course, and she's got a shrine to Dolly, and Dolly is a voice of their revolution, and why not? Dolly is a goddess. She should be worshipped as such. They talk, and later in the episode when they are watching Luminites, I think that's what they're called, basically little glowworms, little fireflies that fly around at night, she actually asks her to help her because they are continuing, despite their treaty or truce or whatever you want to call it, they are still continuing to smuggle out Mocklin women so they don't have to be changed into men and live as men in the Mocklin society, because they were allowed to live but they weren't allowed to continue to bring women into their sanctuary. So they started doing that on their own, and they asked her to help them because they needed someone on the outside who could help them communicate. And she actually agrees to do that, and Havina actually gives her quite a bit of information, apparently. And then Havina goes back to the table, and Bortus and that are not paying attention to their child, and she runs off chasing a rare blue illuminite or luminary. What are they called? Luminites. Or luminites. And she ends up far off in the woods, and she gets attacked and kidnapped by the Mocklins, and they take her to some secret base to question her because they want the codes and the names of the people that she's been given, which it didn't occur to me she'd really give her any information yet. I sort of thought, well, she's asking her to help. She was not actually going to give her dangerous information that would endanger her life, but she did. So they can't find her. She's disappeared. They can't find her. They go back to Bortus and Kelly, their ship's been sabotaged, so that gives them an excuse to actually go on an unauthorized rescue mission. But in the meantime, Bortus and everyone goes back to the Orville, and they get out of Havina what she did, and she's unapologetic about it. She's like, there must be sacrifices, and I will not admit to this. I will not endanger the movement, not even for this girl, and if you try to make me, basically I'll lie about it. So the captain's not very happy, and she will not change her mind. She has decided. But that's when Dolly Parton comes into the picture. So Ed has the security guard take her to the simulator, where she meets Dolly in Dolly's Smoky Mountain home, and they have a chat. It's not, of course, the real Dolly, it's a simulation, and she's aware that she's a simulation, which helps because she's not just talking like an imaginary character. You can ignore she's a real person in that sense, and they do talk, and then she plays a song called Try, which is quite beautiful. And fortunately they don't show the end of the discussion, so I remember watching this going, oh god, they're going to have Dolly change her mind, it's going to be so lame, how are they going to pull this off? Well, fortunately they avoided the actual real conversation, the turning point, and she starts playing the song plays out, as Havina basically goes and says, I will confess, I will admit everything. And then the ship flies off into a nebula and, goes to warp basically while Dolly's song plays in the background. And then they go before the council. Now, in the meantime, they've found the base. They've found Topa, who's being tortured for the information. And I'm disappointed that she actually gave it to them. But they don't get it in the end. But she did actually break. I kind of thought they'd rescue her before it got to that point. And the idea of her being tortured, a girl at that age, it is a little bit disturbing to sort of watch or contemplate the scenes, even though they're not too graphic or anything. Basically, the council is afraid of Mocklin, whatever they're called, and they are lying, or I don't know if the guys up top actually knew what the other guys were doing, but basically they're playing the victim and pretending that they're being discriminated against because, we don't respect their ridiculous beliefs about females. And there's a very cringe moment because Gordon wants to go because he feels that he that she's like family to him. And there's a really weird scene earlier on where she has a crush on a man and a male, and I first assumed it was a boy, and then she goes into the engine room and I thought she had a crush on I cannot remember his name, the black guy who did fly the ship, now as an engineer. I can never remember his name, but no, she's actually attracted to Gordon. I'm like, oh, that's so gross. I'm so embarrassed for her. He doesn't have a clue. He eventually works it out. She takes it fairly well. I mean, it's a fairly small element of the episode. It's not, they don't exactly draw it out much. There's a lot more to happen in the episode, but it could have been fairly crushing for a girl her age, and embarrassing because she asked him out in front of everyone and he didn't get what was happening right away. So he feels very close to her and he shows up, or he asks to go along, and he's sitting in on this meeting, this negotiation between these two giant powers, and all these things are hanging in the balance, and he just butts in and basically with his everyman, logic and language, basically says, you're a bunch of lying a-holes and we're tired of you. We need to call you out on your rubbish because, you're just playing us, and, and they keep telling him to shut up. He keeps going, and I'm like, how did they let him in the room? But eventually they take it to the tribunal, and Havina admits what she did. They don't admit anything, but fortunately the Borders and Kelly escape with Topa just in the nick of time to arrive with her still with her wounds, and he doesn't actually kill the guy who was torturing her, though. He does blind him in his other eye. He had one eye. So I'm not sure if they got the actual information, because one of the guys, I think they killed one of the guards, and I'm not sure if that guy survived or if his mind survived, because the instrument that he used was the one they were using to torture her, and at full strength it can destroy your mind. So I don't know. But I'm sure they would have changed all the information once they found out that she was compromised. But I wish they had gotten there before she gave that information. I don't know why that bothered me. But they escape, they get to the thing, and they basically confront the whole union, and they basically stand up against the Mocklins, and they expel the Mocklins because they are sick of pandering to them for their weapons, which is a great message, which says that, right and morality and all these things are better than military, because they were putting the military and them with their assistance over everything else, and they were just bending over backwards and compromising themselves. So they expel them. Borders basically has to give up his citizenship to stay within, I guess, the Union and stay on the ship. And we have a little surprise towards the end. Clyden shows up, and we have a moment where he apologizes to Topa and explains his weakness and his not knowing how to accept her, and tells her that he accepts her as she is. And it's a beautiful moment as like a gay trans not analogy, I've forgotten the term, but you know what I mean. It's a closure and resolution that we normally don't get from our relatives, so it's quite moving. And then at the end of the episode, they're having dinner, they're a family again. Kelly drops in to let them know they're leaving soon. They've both renounced their citizenship and they are staying on the ship that is now their home, and they invite her to have dinner with them because she's family. So it was a beautiful episode. I was really hoping they'd have Dolly right at the end again, or maybe Topa will be playing her because she, fell in love with Dolly through Havina. But there was no more Dolly. We had the one big scene. It was about 8 minutes, about 3 or 4 minutes of talking and then the song. And yeah, it was a good episode. Except for Gordon. If Gordon had not been in the episode, it would have been much better. I can't stand him. And he's there for the everyman. He's sort of, one of the elements I don't like about the show is that it tends to speak down to the audience a bit, and he's sort of usually the means to do it. So aside from that, it was almost perfect. It was almost brilliant. It was edit out a couple of scenes of Gordon and it would be brilliant. It was 82 minutes long. It actually warranted a movie length. It wasn't stretched out, didn't have 4 stories all crammed together trying to make one long movie length episode like the episode before. It was really good. And I'm glad I stayed up and watched it, even though I am tired, and now I'm going to have to sleep during the day, and it's going to be a nightmare to get back to sleep tonight. But I couldn't, not watch it because I knew it was going to be good because it was one of the Mockle and Topa episodes and Dolly Parton was in it. Yeah. And it's funny, I didn't realise, but they actually used computer technology to de-age Dolly because she's older now. I mean, she doesn't look that older, but they wanted her to be younger. And I was really surprised at that. You'd think if they were going to recreate a historical figure, they'd recreate them as they last were. And, I thought, but yeah, so they made her younger. So that was interesting. She commented on that and how much she enjoyed being on the show, and it was pretty great. A couple of other Star Trek stars apparently were in it, people who'd been in Star Trek, but they weren't anyone I recognised. The episode was written by Brandon Braga and someone else who wrote for Star Trek, so there was a lot of, we've got 4 Star Trek stars, 2 Star Trek writers and Dolly Parton, so there was a lot of bragging about the episode. Yeah, it was good. I would buy the whole 3rd season for this and A Tale of Two Topas. I would have bought it anyway, but I'd buy it. I just hope they release it in HD. As far as I know, the seasons have only been released on Blu-ray. I'm sorry, on DVD, not Blu-ray. And unfortunately, SBS has it on standard, so it doesn't look as great on the big screen. And I kind of miss having the high-definition versions I normally watch on my computer, but my computer's small, so it doesn't make... I really would like to see them in proper high definition, so... I know most TV shows don't get released in Blu-ray anymore because no one cares with general, normal shows. But for sci-fi shows, for shows with a lot of special effects, very visual shows, they really need Blu-ray. So I'm hoping at the end we get like a Blu-ray box set of the whole series or something. But enough whining. Glad I watched it, glad I stayed up for it. I'm wondering where they're going to go because I kind of wanted them to leave a bit of time after A Tale of Two Topas because it was so perfect. I didn't want them to go straight back into a character and maybe undermine that. But they did a good job, and it's another good episode. It is very hit and miss with the Orville, and I do find the show is a bit schizophrenic. It's got a bit of an identity crisis where it doesn't know if it wants to be comedy or lowbrow or sci-fi and highbrow, and it's just sort of all over the place. And it's not like that fun sort of variety that you get with like an anthology show. It's more schizophrenic, and I never quite know what we're going to get. So a few criticisms, and it's not that I don't like the show, I'm just critical of it because there are a few things that I don't like about it, a few issues that I have with it. But they do have, every other episode is good and every few episodes is great. So unlike some shows like Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Picard that have never had a great episode, and only had 1 or 2 episodes that were almost good. Obviously, it's a lot better. So for those people who are calling me a Drekkie and that because I'm critical of the show, doesn't mean I don't like it. Doesn't mean I don't love it. I'm just very aware of its flaws, and I find them really unavoidable. I don't know why I didn't notice them in the first 2 seasons. I don't know if it changed, or if I'm just more aware of it after having a gap from the show. But I'm going to go. I've talked way too long, way longer than I meant to. I'm going to go find that Dolly song, and I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Bye.